Waking up, really? That's it, huh? That's all I have to do to have a successful day? Waking up is what we do every morning. It's what we do before we do something constructive. It's what we do before we get about our day. It's what we do before we do something. Waking up is all great, but if we're sitting on the edge of the bed watching the Q stuff unfold, it doesn't get the job done. And if it doesn't unfold, there we are, sitting on our bed when everything in the world overcomes us. So Q has been quiet for about a week. The question a number of people have asked is Q quiet for a reason? Is Q quiet because it is done? Is Q quiet because the ruse is over? Well, we don't know, do we? But let me point something out. And this is troubling. There is nothing, as best I can remember, not a word about us as citizens doing anything, preparing for anything, getting ready for anything, organizing for anything, participating in the action at all. Nothing. And so in a perfect world, if the Army and the NSA and a few others are all good guys and Trump's the wonderful guy that's working behind everything, and everybody's going to be trucked off to Gitmo, and we're going to have martial law, etc., and it's all going to be wonderful in the perfect world. First of all, that's not a perfect world. Secondly, it doesn't benefit us to enforce the rights that we all think are necessary and not have anybody else respond to them, as much as I would like to have the bad guys have to eat their own medicine by going to Gitmo and the rest of that and being held indefinitely and not having any rights and not having an attorney. I'd love to have that happen. I'm not sure that's the right way to do it no matter what we do, because obviously it breaks down the system, even if the system is a total shambles. But what is more is, as I say, Q has not said, hey, you guys need to have an action plan. So what's our action plan? Secondly, there is this concern, and this is a nagging, ongoing concern about whether Trump is real or not. And most of us have looked around and said, yeah, well, this is great stuff. And the CPAC speech had allusions to stuff that Q posted, so obviously that means that all systems are go, right? Well, maybe. But there are a number of naysayers, and I won't put myself in that camp, because those guys naysay and then do nothing. Naysay, they diss everything that anybody has that's positive and say, well, we can't do this because, and then they sit there fat, dumb, and happy and don't do anything, and don't have any proposals, and don't have any options, and don't have any action plan. So what does naysaying get you? And the guy who said to me the other day, well, you're just a tadpole. You don't know anything. You don't know how to get your stuff done. You can't even properly post on the internet. And I'm thinking, well, gee, if that's the only thing I have to do is be able to get up to speed to post on the internet, then everything is saved, right? We just need to pick the best technological guy and get us all up to speed on the internet, and everything will be perfect, because we'll have a knowledgeable technologist that is getting the stuff done on the internet. Wow, that's perfect. It isn't anything. It's nothing. So yes, it's nice to have good stuff, and obviously I am kind of a newbie on a lot of this video stuff, and for that I have sought your forgiveness. But that's not the issue. I look around at guys that are all wonderfully technologically savvy, and they're still sitting there fat, dumb, and happy. The best of them, all but a few, are saying, gosh, I found this out today. Well, okay, what does that prove? So here's Trump, and Trump the other day on the 12th of January, I guess, pardoned the 5 mega banks for corruption charges. So we have ongoing corruption charges, which would apply to Deutsche Bank and others, and the LIBOR scandal that happened in 2007, which only proves that these mega banks are basically feeding at the trough of the dragon, right? They're sitting outside the cave or coming and going, and they're feeding at the trough, and or they're part of it, or they are dragons, and or there are people deeply embedded into it. But they are the nemesis for us, and they are at the source. And so when they get let off, then the question then is this just a time-saving mode? Is this a way of placating until we come back around on them? Well, yeah, that'd be great. I'm not sure that that's the case. So the article that I looked at, which is on the Activist Post, the Alternate News and Independent Views channel, whatever that is, pointed out that Trump has let Deutsche Bank off, and that Deutsche Bank has been his source of financing, that he owes them at least $130 million, and that he has maybe borrowed upwards of $2.5 billion from Deutsche Bank over the last 20 years. I would like to think that no president lets people off because of his own personal agenda, but that certainly does cast a shadow on it. And the other banks that are involved in it are our buddies, right? Citigroup, JP Morgan, Barclays, for 3-year exemptions, and UBS and Deutsche Bank got 3 years, and the other 3 got 5. So Obama did the same thing. Obama, late in 2016, extended the temporary 1-year waivers to the 5 banks. So these guys are all rolling under the cover and getting protection from criminal charges, and are being effectively pardoned for their nasty little deeds for yet more time. So how does that work? How does that fit into the process? You know, as some of the naysayers have pointed out, there are lots of appointments that Trump has of people that we don't like. That is, we collectively don't like, and many, many, many of us who say, hey, this has got to come to an end, don't like. And the question then is, you know, is Sessions real? Is Wray real? Are any of these other guys real? Well, they got to, sooner or later, they got to poke their heads up and have an action plan themselves, or they're not real. And then, of course, this whole Q business just crumbles. So you know, the other things that Trump has not done is doing anything about the internet rights, free speech, right? We are all teetering on this thin, watery edge of being quieted, silenced, and everybody then goes away, right? And dozens, if not more, of the guys that have been speaking out, guys, I mean channels, men, women, have been speaking out, have been shut down, and they're finding alternate sites and ways to go. But it's hardly an answer to it. So where's the antitrust stuff? Where is the free speech provisions? Where's the requirement that this be a publicly available stuff? Where is the impetus for making this a utility, making these internet things a utility, which is to shift this so that it becomes a publicly accessible medium, subject only to pornography and obscenity, right? Or nasty obscenity. Which, you know, even those are on the margins, and certainly telling us that they're going to protect the internet from sex trafficking is not going to fix the problem. They've already have plenty of statutory authority to do that against the perpetrators. Now they're going to try to go against the people who unwittingly or negligently allow postings of sex trafficking to slip in under the radar. So the other part about this stuff is time is running out, and I pointed this out in other videos, but the primaries are coming up soon. This is March, and the primaries start to run over the next few months. I had a couple folks say, well, shouldn't we be doing something about the primaries? And the answer is, of course, yes. And I will try to get billboards up, what do they call them, where we can post stuff and perhaps get an action group in and find out who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Frankly, they're all bad guys if they won't stand up and face it, whether they're incumbents or not. But the other part about that is that if the New World Order Republicans and or Democrats take over any more than they already are, especially in the House, it will shift out the whole process. And from 19 to 20 through 19 and 20, all we're going to talk about is impeachment and Russian involvement. And that's assuming the good stuff. That's assuming that we don't end up with squabbles or battles or a war. And there are people on the internet talking about that, which is time running out perhaps that's even more proximate than what we're talking about with the elections, the two elections in 18 or 20. It may be more proximate than that. And of course it is much, much darker than that. So, you know, what I've looked at, and part of the reason I've stepped up, is that I don't see people doing what we need to do. It isn't like I'm the best guy for the job. It is, hey, we need to do something. If there's a best guy for the job, let's put him or her to work and go for it. But for my part, I need a website, and I have it up. The email, you should be aware, is drphrog, drphrog, all small letters, no spaces, at seethingfrog.com. That's all it is. Now, that is an Outlook-based email address, and so I'm not going to promise you any kind of security about it. But the truth of the matter is, if the NSA and CIA have decrypting of the encrypting processes, and they do, and many of those encryption things they developed themselves, there's no place to hide anyway. And I'll talk about that in another post, which probably will happen today, and tell you why. So, you know, those of you who want to get after it, I'm there. I'm going to try to shift everything from the Gmail address over to it. It may not work smoothly. I will post my email address. The second one is keep it simple, stupid. And several of you pointed this out. I've lived with the KISS principle myself. I love it. I'm a farm kid, right? And so don't recreate the wheel. If there's already a tractor, you don't have to build one. So we need survival stuff. The survival guys, the survival websites are already up and running. It may be that the baseline stuff people need to get. And if we have post-it boards on this website, and I'm going to rush to do it, I will simply post you over to other stuff that works. Secondly, the ham operators, and it has been pointed out, there is a ham network, there are ham experts, there are probably websites that have, here's what you need this license, you need this material, you need this equipment, you need to put your antenna, you can do blah, 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 and here's how you link with the rest of the folks, here's how you get your channel thing, and this is how long it takes. There are local handheld radios, which would be really helpful. You know, the combination of those two, not counting the cost of the license, is probably less than $300, $400, $500. The next one is a platform, and that's my responsibility, is to have a platform by which we can do this. I've gotten some great emails. I've got to get after about 5 or 6 or 8 of you that have made suggestions about how to just get the website up and get the chat stuff, the video loads, the billboards, the alternate pages, so that we can have this, and we will have different discussion boards and that kind of thing to go for. The local and regional connect, which I asked you to do with zip stuff, we will start to close in on that and make it positive. That is, try to find out who's close to whom, and then perhaps, you know, make stuff available so we can link that to these other networks, and to prep soon for, let me call it not a FF, which everybody knows what it is. Let me call it a bogus banner, right? So the bogus banner is something which is going to happen, and the question is not if, but when. You know, certainly these bogus banners that happened in FL and some other places have their own purpose. And as people have pointed out to me, hoaxes and bogus banners are not necessarily the same, although one can be the other. And so we don't know whether it was what we have seen most recently are hoaxes or bogus banners. But in any case, those are just little ones. And there is some sense that there could be a huge fake, bogus banner financial crisis that would take everything down. You know, there could be electrical grid stuff, there could be internet stuff, there could be localized things. There, of course, are discussions, and I suppose there always are, about the big World War III stuff, and is it real? I don't know. Obviously, if Trump buys into and cannot quell the World War III or the nuclear option, we're all in peril. We are all in primary peril. So that's my news for today. Again, my email address for now and for the foreseeable future is drphrog at Seething Frog, all small letters, no spaces, no underscores, no funny stuff, .com. So drphrog at seethingfrog.com. That's all you need. Thanks so much. If you like this, give a thumbs up. I love that we're getting lots of response. I'm starting to connect with Farmer Jones is on. Dustin Emos and I are exchanging emails. I'm hoping we're going to get some other folks, but the idea is a real action plan. Sorry this is so long. Thanks so much.